Welcome everyone to another session of Down Under Trading. There's been a lot of volatility in the market, so we thought we would hold this one in general, just to go over the charts and have a discussion about what's happened and how and where things can go. It's been fairly wild and fairly crazy. Bitcoin's pumped. I think I checked, it was around 22% or 23% in the past 2 days alone. Stock markets have been flat or dropping across the globe. It's definitely interesting at the moment. Alts have been more or less left behind. There's been a couple stick it with Bitcoin, but for the most part, they really haven't been following to the same extremity as what Bitcoin's been jumping at. What do you reckon, Simon? What's your take on what's been happening?
So, obviously with the news overnight, obviously it's been quite a lot chopped sideways recently, until the news broke yesterday. That was one hell of a pump. I've not seen anything like that for a long time. Obviously some of the alts, there's a couple of as we touched upon last time in the last week's session, a couple of alts which have been doing really well. Obviously there's one that I can't really speak about. Solana's been doing really well. And I've been quite impressed with that, actually, to be honest. To get up to that magical kind of 30, and then bounce back down. ETH is doing quite well at the moment, obviously with BTC run up yesterday. It's back up from 1,575 to 1,829 as we speak. It's not quite. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter talking about start the bull run or whatever. It's if this price holds, it would be a statement of intent for the market. I'm really interested to see what happens in about 2 hours, because it will be New York Stock Exchange will open, and that will be the true test. Now obviously with
जो 3 चीजें लेने वाली हैं ग्रोसरी की वो ले लूं।
Yeah, I think the last time we had a pump like this was when we dropped to 19.5K and then we pumped up to 27, 28K. So, and that was back in March from memory. So, that's been about 7 months since we've had a pump like this. There was a bit of volume that came in at the time of the pump. I think just looking now, I think it was around 250 mil came in a 15-minute period on 265 mil came in a 15-minute period on Binance on the initial pump up, and then when we got the follow through about three hours later, there was another 185 mil came in. There was a bit of volume that came into those pumps, that's for sure. Normally you see around the 60, 70 mil mark, and when you see those sorts of volumes, it typically retraces, which is what we saw when the fake out happened. This seems to be sustained at this stage. I do think that we could come back down and test around that 31.8 level, which is the prior high that we set back in July, I think it was. I'll just check. I've got the chart open. Back in the middle of July, we set the high at 31.8. So I think that we'll come back down to test that high at some point. But if it bounces from there, that's going to be the range low.
Yeah, I'm I've been up since about 3 o'clock this morning, trading on BTC and watching this with quite some intent. I see it coming back down to about 33.5 by the end of today. I just don't see it sustaining at the moment. Unless, as I said, for me, it all depends on what happens on the NYE, and to see if there is any more volume coming in, liquidity, or if this is just going to be a straight sell-off. You know, I know earlier on today you were doing some quite interesting statistical analysis on the other server, which was quite interesting reading. You know, do you want to talk a bit about that between what was happening on Bybit and Binance?
Yeah, so to be honest, I don't normally run with the two charts up against each other, but I thought, oh, I've got the laptop up here on Hamilton Island. You know, why not? We'll get the Bybit chart and the Binance chart up against each other, and it was interesting to watch the order flows where one would be absorbing the price rising, and the other one would be quite bullish in the price rising, and then 10 minutes, 20 minutes later, it flips, and Bybit all of a sudden becomes they become bullish, and then Binance has then started absorbing the price rise. And so it's interesting watching those order flows come through and then watching the price action that comes, because you can actually see the price action happening before it happens when you're watching the order flow. And it's sort of a very much a scalper's tool, because you're getting in and out of the markets very quickly. It can be dangerous. Especially when you're running on the low time frames. I think I posted in our server yesterday when I noticed that things were looking quite bearish on a 1 minute chart, and was literally moments later the price dropped by about $250. And that would have been a perfect scalp. And then it was shortly after that, the price then reversed and it started to break up. And you could see that in the order flow, how it was bearish, it dropped, and then it became bullish, and then it picked up again. But throughout the entire price rise from about 30.5K, I was watching the CBD, and everything was bullish the whole way through across multiple time frames. So I wasn't surprised to see 32K broken. I think I did post in the charts chat that I thought that it was going to get tested, at least tested, and it was whether it was going to get flipped or not, and it clearly got flipped and broken through quite convincingly. We'll go over some charts a bit later where I found some interesting levels for where the price stopped. I actually only just come across it about 10 minutes ago before we jumped into the voice chat. I thought, I'll just use some of these tools. And oh wow, I can't believe the price stopped there. So that'll be good to go over that. It's interesting how the Bitcoin dominance has it's just skyrocketed. Basically, it's been on a bull run as well. Some of the alts have come up as well, but none of them have really come up to the same amount of price increase to what Bitcoin has. And I actually posted a video in the Bitcoin charts channel, just of the alts versus BTC pairing on Binance, and I would say at least 85%, 90% of the alts are actually in the red against Bitcoin on their valuation. There's only a small handful that are actually in the green. It sort of goes a bit of a long way to show where the market's at and what's leading the run.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, the news about ETF approval yesterday, obviously, you know, a huge amount of liquidity came in. You know, do you see this as now? Because I know neither of us really trade on the news. You know, we're both kind of evidence-based outcome statistical. You know, looking at the charts. But this is major news within kind of, you know, the crypto sphere, crypto circle, you know, and the wider kind of community for Web3. Do you see this as another flash in the pan like Ripple earlier on this year, or do you actually see this as another stepping stone to possibly now, you know, break towards that 40K? You know, I think your prediction at the end of the year, if I remember correctly, was about 37.5. I think I chipped in at about 35. And that was January or February or March, I do believe. But anyway, do you see this as I said, as more sustained now? because of the news yesterday. You know, like we said, we saw the flash in the pan a week ago with kind of that fake tweet. News spiked, came back down. How do you see this situation playing out, or do you think the SEC will come back? I mean, obviously at the moment they said they're not going to challenge this, but because of what's happening in the US at the moment, do you think they will reverse this decision? Because I mean, obviously if that happens, we're going to see a massive sell-off. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so for the end of year, I've been my idea is that we're going to finish up the year between 33 and 37k. That's just based on my parallel channel and the trend line from the lows. That's the only way. That's the only way that I've derived those findings. But in regards to the pump, look, I will agree that the news of around the BlackRock ETF getting listed with, I can't remember the company's name, basically getting pre-listed was a catalyst for driving the upward momentum of Bitcoin. However, I will say that I do believe that the uptrend was more or less preloaded. Did I think it was preloaded last week? Probably not, no. But now in hindsight, and I look at it and I think about it, alts have been shaken off their support on the BTC valuation. So if Bitcoin's going to go down, the alts are already down, so they may only follow at the same percentage drop if Bitcoin was to drop. Sorry, excuse me. However, if Bitcoin's then to move up, the alt are going to be having to push through that resistance or the previous support levels, which is likely to be flipped to resistance, to then try keep up with Bitcoin. So the path of least resistance for the Bitcoin dominance to go up is if Bitcoin actually goes up. So I think that the uptrend for Bitcoin was going to happen, and the ETF, it could have been any sort of news that came out, but it happened to be about the BlackRock ETF came out, and that was the catalyst for starting that move to happen. As we are at the moment, where the price has gone, it's still within the realms of technical analysis. The price hasn't left my parallel channel on the index chart, which we'll go over after, and we can have a look at that. Because that's also quite interesting, looking at the parallel channel over multiple charts. So that whilst the move in itself was surprising, where the price ended up is it's not expected, but it's also not surprising because it's still within the realms of technical analysis. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Should we talk about some of the alts on the market? Do you want to start with obviously what we normally do, the one I can't really talk about?
Yeah, I'm more than happy to talk about Sweat. I actually posted up a little bit about Sweat in our premium earlier today. Look, I'm a little bit disappointed with how things have been going for Sweat, particularly in the past 2 days, where Bitcoin's pumped by 22%. I thought that Sweat was going to at least make an attempt at the high time frame 50% level, which I'll just see where that sits at the moment, where it has been sitting. That sits at 0.0107. It couldn't get close to it. The last time we got close to that level was towards the start of October, and that was the range high. Sweat hasn't managed to get over the local 786 level, which is fairly disappointing given the move in the market at the moment. The price action is still bullish because we are still above that 0.0085 level. But at some point, we've got to sort of look at it and say, all right, it looks like the trend's starting to flip. And that's sort of where my head is at the moment. On the Sweat Bitcoin evaluation, it's sitting right on support. It's sitting right on the 50% level at the moment. So it's sort of make or break. The longer that it sits there, the worse it is. You really like to see tokens bounce off key supports or key resistance levels, as opposed to holding there. The longer they hold at a resistant or a support level, the more likely they are to break through them. So it's not great, unfortunately. As you know, I'm a holder of Sweat, so I'm not talking about Sweat in a negative tone because I don't like it. I love the project, but the charts don't lie, and we have to look at the charts and sort of judge them as they are. And obviously, the way I'm talking now is about short to mid-term analysis. Long term, I think it's a great hold. It's coming into it. It hasn't even experienced a bull run yet, so there is a lot of upside to come. The team has a war chest of levers that they can pull to enable utility moving forward. So there is a lot of promise there. But yeah, certainly in the short term, I think we are going to go back into a downtrend, which shouldn't come as a surprise. As for that to be my thought, just based on what I've been saying about the US launch and how I was a little bit skeptical, even though it's great and fantastic, just with it being a news event and my thoughts around how news events work. So far, it looks to be playing out, but it's not confirmed. There's still a lot to go. So the next couple of weeks will be telling. If Bitcoin has a retrace, I'd be very interested to see how Sweat holds up. If it can maintain above 0.0085, that would be fantastic. So it's a wait and see game here. It's not bad, but it's also not great. You would have expected Sweat to have some movement.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I will say on that is, the trading volume has increased dramatically. From about 1.5 mil to 2.5 high, we're now seeing average of 7.5 mil a day, predominantly from Huobi. Yeah, which was unexpected. That's all I can add to that. Yeah, it's an interesting one at the moment.
It's great to see increase in volume, but with increasing volume, you want to see some larger movements in price as well. If you're getting an increase in volume while you're taking key levels, that's fantastic. That's a very positive move. But if you're seeing increased volume, but you're not going over those key levels, it sort of suggests that the increased volume would likely be sellers suppressing the price from getting over those key levels. Bitcoin's testing 35K, Muji says.
Yeah, I'm watching it live.
Oh, yeah? Oh, I'm missing out. I might be wanting to take a short here.
34,855 is meeting resistance towards the top end of it, but yeah, I mean, it's been a hell of a run for the last kind of hour.
I'm not going to. I'm just firing up the laptop because I've still got the order flow charts running. So
yeah,
hopefully they play some catch up and I can see what's going on, which would be good. I might be able to, because I'm chimed into Discord from my phone. I could always turn the camera on and maybe we could do some. We could look at some order flows at the same time, which would be interesting.
Yeah, definitely, man. Let's go for it.
But whilst I'm doing that, maybe we'll have a look at some others. So Solana has been on a big burst lately, and it's quite interesting because I'm not sure if you recall when it ran up to $32 back in July, it actually touched a high time frame. Muji, my short's well and truly closed, mate, and I didn't get in one earlier because it didn't hit my level at the time. But thanks for the concern, mate. Appreciate it.
Great shout.
Yeah, Solana back in July when it ran up to $32, it tapped a high time frame 618 level, and then retraced quite heavily. And then when it came back down, I think it got to about $17, and I've just got the chart up on my phone. We can go over it a bit after, but it came back down and it hit the downtrend 618 level, hit it once, and it hasn't looked back. We've gone back up and virtually made a double top at the moment. However, we're still hovering around the level, so it'll be interesting to see where Solana can go. There is some key levels to the upside, which are fairly exciting for anyone that's a Solana holder. $34 is a key level for me to watch, because that's the top of the golden pocket. And then above that, it's around the $44, $45 mark is also another key level to be watching, which that's nearly a 50%, well, it's about a 35, 40% increase from where we are at the moment. There's not a lot of structure above these levels. So yeah, there's a lot of upside to Solana at the moment. It's acting quite bullish. I think a lot of it has to do with that Solana had a massive retrace back when Bitcoin came down to 15.5K back in November last year.
Yeah, I mean it dropped, I think, down to about $9.25 if memory serves me right.
Yeah, I think it even got to $8.
Yeah, it might have done.
Got actually under $8. It just got under $8 on Bybit. But what I've been noticing is that a lot of the altcoins that paid heavily back in November, October last year are doing a lot better now. Whereas the alts that didn't drop as hard back then, they're the ones that seem to be bleeding off a lot more now. They're not holding up as much, like your dots and your ADAs. Even though ADAs actually had a decent pump the past day, it's up about 20% as well. Yeah, it's interesting to see. So it's almost like you've got bags of alts that are at different parts of their own cycle as well, which is it's interesting to watch, because when you talk about alts, you try to bag them together as total three. However, you might have a select few that are actually performing better than Bitcoin. Then you've got a handful that are underperforming to Bitcoin, but not too badly. And then you've got the vast majority, which are actually well and truly underperforming. But it's those two that are in the first two groups that sort of get forgotten about when you're specifically looking at total three. Like, Sweat's up 2x from the lows. Solana's up 3x from its lows. And there's a few others that are doing quite well. Render is another one. It's up about 5x. Actually, no, it's even probably 6x now from its lows. Injective, it's probably the leader of the pack, in my opinion, for the best performer. I think Mystic spoke about it in the Sweat Trading chat yesterday. So there is some alts that are performing really well, but they're very selective. You wouldn't be able to count to 10 that are outperforming Bitcoin, I don't think.
Should we touch upon just talking about alts, Thorn Rune, because I mean it's a really odd one. It touched that kind of high about 3-4 weeks ago, didn't it, of 225. It's dropped like a stone down to about 145, and is now 119 again. I mean, just in the last kind of, like, as I said, couple of days, it is literally done about 25-30% just off the back. It's just been stellar again. It's one of these really funny yo-yo alts.
Yeah, so I think a lot of it's got to do with the lending protocol that they're running on Thorchain. I did read up about it about 4 weeks ago. I can't remember it 100% exactly, but my understanding is that essentially you can borrow through Thorchain, and there's no interest whatsoever. However, your assets that you put up as collateral are sold to buy Thorchain, and then when you want to collect your assets, they then sell the Thorchain to then rebuy your assets and give it back to you. So as people are borrowing, the price is going to naturally increase because the protocol is buying Rune. And then when the price decreases, can a lot of the time be attributed to people are cashing in and wanting their collateral back. Which is why we're getting a whole lot of volatility in Rune, because people are using this as a means of manipulating the market. They might go massive on a long, and then they'll drop 10 mil in collateral on a loan, which then in turn goes and buys a heap of Rune from the market, pumps the price, they cash out their long, go short, pull out their money out of the collateral, they cash in their loan, which then sells the Rune and dumps the price. So it's got a very, I don't know, it's not the same as Luna, but it definitely has a bit of a Luna feel to it for me. What do you think about that, hearing that? I'm not sure if you were aware of that's how it
No,
was.
I wasn't actually. It just sounds like a pure liquidity grab, basically. I wasn't aware of the dynamics of that at all. It's really actually quite surprising. I mean, and it would actually put me off to a certain extent actually investing in it. Just because of what happened with Luna. For those who weren't aware of what happened, basically decoupled from the dollar, and I mean it was what, about $20, 25, wasn't it, or something around that, when it decoupled, and it lost everything literally in the space of about 24 hours.
Luna,
Yeah,
like $80 or so when it decoupled.
yeah.
And
I mean it.
went zero.
Yeah, I mean it was just anything with that kind of feel to it. It just puts me off completely. I don't care kind of what the margins are or anything else. I mean, as traders, we've got to look at kind of risk management. And yeah, that. Yeah, it's just I wasn't aware. I wasn't aware at all of that. But
Yeah,
anyway,
it's pretty stuff.
yeah, I mean, it does kind of make me question kind of, the tokenomics, what the project is about, and also kind of, if it's just price manipulation by, said few holders, like you said, etc., etc. But again, that's my thoughts, you know. Should we touch on, do you want to touch on traditional stock market? Because that's your speciality.
I wouldn't say it's my speciality, but yeah,
Well, you know damn sight better than I do anyway, so we'll leave it at that.
yeah. So I guess for me, the surprising one at the moment is the HSI, the Chinese markets. It's dropped. It actually closed today under 17,000, only just, but it has closed down there. Last week, I think, no, actually, sorry, it was the start of August. It got down to just over 17,000, 17,092, and it had a very strong bounce off that level. It actually jumped up around about 6 or 7%, but it's fallen equally as quick. It's not. It is a little bit concerning, but I'm not long-term concerned. The president of China, he's got a lot of levers that he's able to pull, a lot of stimulus he can put into the economy, and he's got justified reasons to do so. They're in a deflationary environment. Their GDP is not doing that great at the moment. So he's got a lot of reasons to be able to turn on the printers and get them going full steam ahead, which they've already started. It's a matter of time, I think, before they start to sort of flip around and start turning into an uptrend. It's just a matter of how low can they go. I'm continuing to DCA into my stock portfolio, which I've got posted in the premium section, exactly what it is that I'm invested in. And when I see these dips, it just sort of it makes me buy more. So I'm appreciative of the opportunity. Moving over to SPX, because that was another one that has had some significant movements. We dipped below the 50% level at 42.07 on yesterday's close, or it could be today's close, depending on what part of the world you are. However, we came back up and closed above it with a bit of volume. The 4,200 level was sort of where I thought the bottom was going to be. We did get there at the start of October, almost 42.17. And again, similar to the HSI, we had a strong bounce out of that of about 5%. However, we've come down just as quick, exactly the same as the Chinese market. So I think we could be forming a bit of a bottom here. Can we go lower? I think we could on the SPX, maybe around the 40.80, 4,100 level. Could be at the next level down that we go if we start breaking down this 4,200 level. Can we go much lower than that? I doubt it highly. I still think 4,200 is a significant level for the SPX. If it is broken, I'm happy to go back to the charts and reassess. But regardless, if we go lower, that just makes me more happy because it means I'll bag more stocks at a cheaper price. I'll just, sorry.
Quick question. What do you anticipate the October month end price will be for BTC?
Oh, geez, that's a tricky question, man. What you should have asked this question in advance. Let me charts. All right. Where could we go? What day are we? The 24th, so we've got a week left. The
key to this is whether this kind of pump actually kind of holds over the next 2 or 3 days. Because I mean, if it holds, do you think it will add as a catalyst to then go through resistance and possibly top 35, 37.5 kind of range? Or if the resistance is met, do you think it will come back down to kind of that 32.5 mark? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think we're going to exceed 36k. If we do, I feel it'll only be a wick. And I'll jump into the charts in a minute, and I'll go over the reasons why. But to answer Muji's question, we've got 7 days left. I'm going to say we're going to be around the 3,200 mark at a guess. That's purely speculation. Take it with a grain of salt. But I think we'll be around 3,200.
Okay, interesting.
So
I mean, like I said earlier on, I've said it in another serve as well. I expect kind of BTC to come down within the next 48 hours to about 33,500. Even if it does go above 35, I don't think it will be sustained. I think the commercial sell-off will, happen at some point. BTC made a run up to 35 a couple of minutes ago. It's now bouncing around kind of that 34,600 mark, and the shorts are coming in thick and fast already. We saw this morning at about 8 o'clock this morning. It touched down to where was it, 33,845, and then we saw kind of the dominance and the bull kind of bullish sentiment start kicking in. I just see this as kind of that kind of wave formation we're seeing at the moment, and I expect BTC to come down significantly over the next 3 or 4 hours. Personally, I don't think this will be sustained.
I'll just bring I'll start. I'll share my phone. I'm going to put it on camera and show you guys what I'm looking at on my laptop. And I'll dissect this recent move that happened up to 35k and where it came back down. So we had this move up to 35k here, and then we came down. So when we've come down here, we can see here on the CVD it comes down also, and then we go over here and we look at the open interest. The open interest goes down as well. So what this is suggesting is that in this move down, we've got long positions are closing because the open interest is going down, CVD is going down, price is going down. If this hypothetically was to happen in a big spike to the downside, you would suggest that that's a liquidation. But because the price is going up beforehand, it suggests that it was longs closing that brought the price down. And then if we look over here when the price has been rising, you can see the CVD was starting to go down. See the open interest is starting to go up. So that's suggesting that there's shorts opening in the market. And then what happened shortly after? The price started coming down. So that's just a little bit of how order flows, the order flows work. And then over on the right-hand screen, so that's Bybit. This one over here is Binance. You can see a similar thing happen. Open interest doesn't quite work as well on Coinalyze for Binance, but you do get a similar way of working. Same thing. Price went down. CVD went down. It looks like the open interest went down as well. I don't know if you can see that too well. So that's the longs closing, brought the price down. And then we've got some shorts. Yeah, we've got some shorts opening here in this drop here. So in this drop down, it was actually driven by Binance, which is where it becomes interesting, where you can see the two different exchanges, how they're affecting the prices differently. So right now we can actually see there's a lot of longs opening up on Bybit. You can see the big spike on the open interest, CVDs going up, price going up. A lot of longs are opening up on Bybit, and over here on Binance, nothing's happening. It's staying relatively flat. So it'd be interesting to see what happens here with the price, whether it goes up to maybe around the 34.7 mark. There's more open interest coming up. You can see candles getting bigger, and this is all on the 1 minute chart. These things do take a bit of time though. But looking at the Bybit chart, it is actually bullish. Looking at the CVD, the CVD is moving up. The price isn't keeping up with it. So that means that the price is actually being absorbed by the bulls, the price going down. But then you look over at the Binance chart and the CVD is going down. So the bears are actually pushing the price down over on Binance. So yeah, it's just a matter of who's going to win the tug of war between the two, you know.
I was just about to say Walmer is at the retrace of 34,500. So yeah, it looks like, as I said, Binance are definitely kind of pulling their weight at the moment. Yeah.
Well, they've got similar levels of open interest. There's about 420 mil on Bybit, and there's 560 mil on Binance. The Binance does have a little bit more, but I wouldn't say it's that they're a massive power player over the top of Bybit. From what I've been watching today, Bybit have definitely moved the markets in a particular direction, just as much as Binance has.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be, as I said, I mean, it's fascinating to watch kind of like real time what the outcome of this is going to be over the next few hours. Yeah, I mean, we have quite a few people here. I mean, guys, if you got any other questions, we like to touch on. I see Starseed, I see Muji, I see Xenon, and Alpha's here as well. Do you believe? Baldrick. So, guys, if you've got any questions, please just text or just, unmute yourself and ask kind of myself and Borgie.
While we're waiting for some questions to come through, there was some stuff on the charts that I wanted to go through. So I'll just start off on, this is just the Bybit perpetual chart. And I only drew this earlier. So when we had the big pump earlier today, we actually broke out of the channel and got up to around the 36.8 mark. That's not seen. You don't see that on other charts. So this is, for instance, the index chart. Index chart only got up to 35.2. So you can attribute the bigger move on Bybit is due to liquidations, more or less. But the interesting thing is that the liquidations stopped at the golden pocket, the extension golden pocket. I didn't have that there initially, and that is just drawn from the high back in July to the low that was set in August, which this low here, down the bottom at 24.2, that's only seen on the Bybit chart as well. Now you draw the fib from there with the extension, and this pump stopped right on the golden pocket. It's amazing how it works. And then we go and look at the index chart. Excuse me. So we've had a 23% pump from the lows. I still feel that there is still some upside to go. Whether it's just going to be a quick move, probably likely. But I'd like to see the index chart come up and tap the top of the parallel channel, which is drawn from the lows. Anyone who's watched my videos before would be aware of this channel. I've been using it since it was formed back in since the start of the year. I've been using this channel. So the fact that we're back above this orange trend line here, which is from the lows to the 19.5K level, we got pretty close here when we came down to 24.8. Then we pushed through it in August, played around underneath it. Now we're back above it. I'm starting to be of the opinion that we may be able to hold it. It just really depends what part of the market that we're in. I am in two minds there. I did post up in, let's see if I can find it. It is in the Sweat chat. I posted, where is it? The cheat sheet. So the Wall Street cheat sheet. Ignore the circle around hope. I didn't put that there. That's just from the picture that I copied. I did post this up and ask people where do they feel the market's at. My general feeling in myself, and also from what I've been seeing on Twitter, is that I feel like we're in this disbelief stage on the right hand side of the screen, not on the left, where we started off with anger when we hit 17.5K. Then we came down in the depression stage, which is when we hit 15.5K, and then we've been on this grind up ever since. And yeah, we've had ups, we've had downs along that road, but it's been fairly consistent in an uptrend. And now we've had the big run up, and I feel like we could potentially come back down. Where that marker is, I haven't really looked into that, because I think the 23K is off the cards now. since we've put in a new high, and we've broken above 32k. I've always said as long as we're under 32k, 23k is on the cards. But now that we're above 32k, I need to go back to the drawing board there. The other part of me says perhaps we're at the hope stage, and the recent low that we put in at 24.9 is the end of the disbelief stage. So if we're in the hope stage, then I would expect us to maintain above this trend line for this cycle. I don't think we will drop below this trend line for this cycle. Maybe I'll have we'll work through it. We'll see where I think the bottom can be.
I've got a good
Roughly-
question.
Roughly
Me-
around 20k is the new bottom from just drawing this fib above the 50% level. Yeah, sorry, Simon. What's the question from
Yeah,
Muji?
no worries. Muji asks, you think the BTC retrace money profits will start flowing into alts, or will the alts bleed with the retrace?
I think alts are going to continue to bleed into Bitcoin until, as a general rule of thumb, until Bitcoin breaks the price cycle's all-time high. And you can do some back testing on that when you look at a dominance chart overlaid on the Bitcoin USD chart, and you can see when the dominance falls off in comparison to the price action of Bitcoin on the USD, and that will more or less put you in the right direction for finding the answer to that one. But yeah, for me, it's not until Bitcoin breaks its all-time high. Am I going to wait till Bitcoin breaks its all-time high to start accumulating alts? No, I'm not. You've got to find a balance of when you want to start getting alts to take advantage of that situation when you get the seesaw of Bitcoin making its all-time high and then getting into alts. That would be assuming that you're going to sell all your Bitcoin to then invest in the right alts that are at the lowest their lowest Bitcoin evaluation at the time, that are then going to go on to make really great returns. So it's very, very hard to sort of get that organized. I think for me, I'm going to look to start investing in alts once they start hitting some levels that I'm keen on, which I've posted over in the premium, what those alts are and what those levels are. Yeah, as soon as they hit my trigger levels, that's when I'm going to start DCAing into them. So
I've
yeah.
got another good question here. How dominant do you think BTC will be when the next halving comes along?
What dominance level I think it'll be at?
Yeah.
Let's jump into the chart. Yeah, these are great questions.
They're making you work today, my friend.
Yeah, no, that's all right. I'm going to say it's around 60% at the halving. And I'll go a step further. And I'll say that we will hit 42k before the halving, which maybe everyone assumes that that's going to happen anyway. But
Are you still at kind of the thought process that BTC at the top of the bull run is going to be about 92.5, or are you kind of thinking somewhere between 90 and 100?
that's between 90 and 100 is what my initial thoughts were earlier on in the year. I have changed that a little bit. I haven't continued to put much thought into it, just because I've been a lot more focused on what's happening now and sort of within the next sort of 3-4 month period. So I do want to put a bit more work into that. But from what I've got on my spot holdings, I'll definitely be selling some between 90 to 100k. Put it that way. I won't be selling all of them, but I'll be selling some between that level.
So that's good enough. Guys, have we got any other last questions? No?
Oh, we can because I spoke about sweat earlier. It's handy to look at the charts as well. I'll go to the daily.
When Lambo, when sweat hit, when sweat hit the dollar movie.
So this is what I was saying earlier. We've got our high time frame 50% level here at 107. We nearly got there on the 7th of October, and then we met some heavy rejection with volume. Came in, sent us right back down. From that point, I then drew a fib from the high to this low that was set, which gives us these fib levels in here, the 786. And we've only crossed it once, but we haven't crossed it since. And it's proving to be a local 786 level is proving to be resistance. However, we do have this 50% level here, which is drawn from this low back in September to the high. Provided we remain above that level, it's still quite bullish. We can consolidate a little bit. If it continues consolidating, that's fine. As long as we don't break below. We can wick below, but we can't break below and stay below. If we stay in here, it's going to take off. It'll break this 50% level eventually. And when it does, it'll start heading up pretty quickly to this 122, 126 level, the golden pocket. And even once we do, if we were to say break below this local, because this is a local level, local 50% level, we then have the high time frame 50% level at 7446, which is from the all-time low to the local high. As long as we remain above this level, we also still remain bullish. Not as bullish as if we stay ranging here, but it's still bullish. If we lose this 50% level, that's when it starts to look bad, and we can start to suggest that we're going to start coming back down to some of these levels down here. One of the key levels is this horizontal line I've got written in here at 628. I think when we were down here, I was calling it as resistance, which because that's was originally the support levels, and it did prove to be resistance at the time. Got a big retrace, then we pushed through, and then it got flipped into support. Pushed through, flips. It's still support again, and we got a massive bounce from it there. So I think we've got some key levels to below us that provides us with some structure. Things are still looking good, although they are short-term bearish, because we are really struggling with this local 786 level. I do expect us to come down and test this 50% level, maybe even wick below it. But yeah, I'm interested to see how we react at it. And then alternatively, I've got this. Oh, I just saw that. That's not good. So we were hovering right on the 50% level because it's actually the 50% level there. Might just go to the 1 hour chart because that's new that we broke below it. Yeah, so it only just broke below it since we started the voice chat, pretty much. So ideally, we wanted to stay above this level against Bitcoin. That keeps us moving just as quick as Bitcoin when it's going up or when it's going down. We don't Sweat doesn't lose as much value, or it gains more value when it's moving up. So it'll be interesting to see where the day closes. Hopefully, Sweat can get back above this level on the daily close. If it doesn't, then it's starting to lose momentum against Bitcoin, and that's when you start seeing the alts running slower when Bitcoin's running up, and falling harder when Bitcoin's falling down, or even just losing value against USD when Bitcoin's chopping sideways. So hopefully we can reclaim this 50% level. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, I just wanted to maybe touch on Total 3 whilst we're talking about alts. So Total 3 has had a decent bounce. Not as good of a bounce as what Bitcoin's been doing, but it's had a bounce nonetheless. We're still acting within the realms of the channel, which faces downwards. So it's still in a downtrend. To get into an uptrend, we need to break this high here, which would mean breaking out of the channel. So it's a big ask. And it is a fair way off. You know, it's another 10% move up, more or less, 8% move up. So alts as a whole are still in a downtrend. Yeah, that's just how the market is. We can only look at the charts and see the facts for what they are. So, did anyone have any questions or anything specifically?
No, I think that's everything covered, my friend.
No. Sorry, guys, I'm a bit sick at the moment, so you'll have to excuse my coughing.
I think we'll end it there, my friend.
Yeah, no, I love Baldrick Alpha's just will Borgie get well soon. Hopefully, mate. Hopefully, I'm in paradise at the moment, on an island in the up in tropical north of Australia. So I'll have to get out in the pool tomorrow and yeah, get some sun into me.
It's all right for some, you know. We're stuck in this miserable cold country, you know. Anyway. Great, guys. It's been great to see you all. Thank you all for attending. We're probably going to do another special Discord session next week. Probably similar sorts of times, unless anybody has any other suggestions. Please feel free to drop me, Nomad, or Borgie a DM or anything if you've got any suggestions, or if there's anything else you want to talk about, i.e. alts or any of the markets. Great to see you all. Thank you, Starseed. Thank you, Baldrick. Thanks, Muji, as always. I know John was here for a bit, but he had to shoot off. Yeah, been great, guys. Take care.
Yeah, thanks, guys. See ya.